Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Inside the Pigskin. Candy and I are getting ready for the Senior Bowl here in Mobile, Indiana, Mobile, Alabama. Okay, it's an at the end. Shows you it's early, people. I am king of the road. I make no secret about it, king of the road. I like to get on here and give this hat a little bit of a plug, especially when I'm doing this stuff on the road. Candy, good to have you back.
Good to be here, Scott.
Hopefully Tom Shanahan will be here. I know it's a little bit earlier. I might have been asking him and pressing him a little bit, but if he gets on, he does. Not, we see him on Tuesday night. No big deal. Tommy's certainly one of our best contributors, for sure. A very dear friend of mine. Mel, glad to have you back on.
Hey, it's good to be back.
Good to have you. Okay, and Marvin Powell, you ready for this one?
Oh yeah, been looking forward to it all week.
Yeah, we are stacked. I love this Saturday show. I must be insane to do it, but when I got people like you two that are hungry to do it, then it adds a little bit of extra energy and adrenaline rush with you two guys on it. And Candy and I was watching this show, and those people that are about to eventually get on when they wake up and know we're on here, our version of game day, and we have a lot to tackle here. And you know what's been interesting about this whole week up in mobile is this. Number one, I've traded NIL for NFL, and that has been a lot of fun. And we all know NIL money, college kids, NFL's people is where it is at. All right, with that said, we're going to get to Brian Kelly because I'm wondering if he's ever going to get hired anywhere else. But we're going to take you through the chronology of what's gone on with Brian Kelly over the last few months. Yeah, because I'll tell you, it has been an ugly departure for him. In 4 seasons with LSU, he was 34-14, and he was 5-3 in 2025 before he was actually fired after a blowout loss to Texas A&M 49-25. His buyout terms are $740,185 a month for 7 years. So that's quite a bit of chump change there. And he followed actually Nick Saban, who was 39-13 with an SEC championship. We're talking about all the coaches that preceded him with a national championship. And then you go from Nick Saban to Les Miles, was 42-11 with an SEC championship and a natty. Ed Orgeron, 41-9, SEC championship. You guessed it, a natty. And of course, Kelly, 34-14, nothing. And those are your last 4 LSU records. So I repeat, okay, because there were a lot of numbers to go ahead and take in. Saban, 39-13. That's just LSU, people. Okay. Les Miles, 42-11. Orgeron, 41-9. Still not employed, by the way. And of course, Kelly, 34-14. Nothing to show for it as far as natties. And of course, those are the last 4. Now, but don't feel too sorry for Brian because he's only going to make 31 cents per second, $18.46 per minute, $1,107 per hour, $26,582 per day, $186,076 per week, and $808,335 per month. And by the way, the cost of this whole thing here cost them $100 million to follow Kelly, his staff, plus a new coach and a wasted season with Jaden Daniels. So there you have it, Candy. I gave you something that you give us a lot of stats. Try to break it down and tell me what you think. You're on mute, by the way, Candy. There you are.
When you listed all those coaches, you listed some pretty big names. Like, those are all big names. And honestly, they've all had pretty good records. If you put those records at most any other school, and they'd be like, those are good records. For Brian Kelly, you know, I'd like a paycheck like that to not have to go to work. Where do I sign up?
Yeah, you and everybody else. We'll call it the Bobby Bonilla. Of course, nowadays, every contract in college football is Bobby Bonilla written all over it. All right, Marvin.
You know, it's surprising to me that Brian Kelly didn't have the success that many thought he would have. You know, he went to LSU because of all the talent in state. And, if he could capture, 85%, 80% of the top talent in Louisiana, that would have been a hell of a roster. But for whatever reason, man, it just never really happened for him. Now, when you look at how he went out and you look at some of his exit interviews or just some of his last, some of the last stuff he did with media, saw a lot of negativity. You didn't see a whole lot of accountability. And I really feel like he burned a little bit of his reputation on the way out the door. His record, 34 and 14, something like that, that's not horrible. I think the men who preceded him obviously all had a similar record, but the difference is they had a national title. But Brian Kelly was somebody who I thought was I think he's a good coach, has a good resume. Took Notre Dame to the national championship. They got blown out, but still he took them from not competing for championships to the championship. That's relevant. And it's just baffling he couldn't get it done. Now, I don't know if NIL soured him. I don't know if he just got sick of the state of college football. I don't know what it was, man, but he was really nasty on the way out, man. So I don't know what to say about that guy, man. I think it'll be hard for him to get another big time Power 4 job just on how LSU went and just how he went out the door. But I mean, he had a good career, man. It's just at LSU, for whatever reason, it just never came together.
Well, it's funny how you say that. Even Oklahoma State was a job he could get, but they didn't even reach out to him. That's how bad this thing ended up, Marvin. Oklahoma State, of all places, the Cowboys. Take it from there, man.
Well, Brian Kelly's a good football coach. I always thought he was a good football coach from his time at Cincinnati, and then he went to Notre Dame. I think he was a little bit over his skis at LSU. He was successful everywhere he had been prior to going to LSU. He left Notre Dame to go to LSU because he didn't believe he could win the national championship at Notre Dame. So that's why he went to LSU. And I think he started believing the press clippings about himself and forgot who he was. Went down there the time in front of the students and trying to act like he was, had a little Louisiana twang to him. And he just went down there and became somebody who he wasn't, and got caught up in the press clippings and got the big head and didn't go out there and coach and recruit the way that he was capable of doing. I think he'll probably get another job at somewhere. Somebody will give him another opportunity. Somebody will be desperate for a big name coach, and he is a big name coach, and he's a very successful coach. A lot of people will take that record that he had at LSU. A lot of schools will take that record, but at LSU, that's not why he went there. He didn't go to LSU to be 34-19 or whatever his record was. He went to LSU specifically because he felt he had a better chance of winning a national championship at LSU than he did Notre Dame.
Yeah, Marcus Freeman's done a whale of a job at Notre Dame, but I just go back to these numbers again. It just blows me away for those of you just tuning in. But when you can tell somebody that he's going to go ahead and earn $740,185 a month for 7 years, that's not bad for 7 years. That's not even coach football.
Scotty,
go ahead, Marvin.
It's just really, when you were first reading out the buyout numbers, I'm just thinking, it is unbelievable how much money these schools are making, how much money that these donors are giving. I mean, it's like, the majority of the country are living in a recession. Everything is so high. Groceries are so high, but when it comes to college football, they making that money, they spending that money, they investing that money. Man, it is unbelievable but the money that this sport is generating, what these kids are generating. Unreal.
Yeah, $740,185 a month just to not coach. I mean, and then I can't believe it. That's why I'm reading them again. It's just mind-boggling. I mean, 1846 per minute. I think these are just crazy, crazy numbers. 186,076 per week. There you go, Candy. I get it. $26,582 per day. Oh well, maybe I just say them because I like saying these numbers, but nevertheless, they're mind-boggling. But I'll tell you what. Let's continue the narrative, and then it gets more interesting with the USC and UCLA stuff that we have going on. The same athletic director who hired Jimbo Fisher and Brian Kelly for a combined buyout of $129 million. Scott Woodward, he gave contracts worth $170 million to both, and neither coach reached the college football playoff. $170 million. I mean, that's just unbelievable. Let's continue the theme here. Again, you're talking about now Jimbo Fisher in the whole thing and Brian Kelly. So now Fisher would later left, got an extension, and after he left A&M, Kelly's buyout equates to $53 million, and Fisher later left, got an extension and now after he left A&M, and now Fisher gets $76 million for an extension as well. So now we're talking even more money. So now you add the fact that Scott Woodward, though, oversaw 7 national championships, and I'll go over the list in a moment. Well, what are your thoughts right now, Marvin, about that? Woodward gives $53 million, okay, to Kelly, and another $76 million to Jimbo Fisher.
Man, I tell you what, Scotty, I really enjoy my time with you. But if he comes calling me, I'm getting the job with that guy, man. He knows how to take care of his employees and his ex-employees. That's a hell of a deal, boy. Only in America, you know what I mean? You say this ain't a wonderful country. This guy needs to be fired today. No, it doesn't need to be fired. Listen, again, it's just what it is, man. It's just, and people are crying because they feel like these athletes shouldn't be getting paid. When you see the amount of money these coaches are getting to coach these kids, the amount of money these universities are paying staff, I mean, it's unbelievable, unbelievable. Scotty, I just started real quick. I started one thing. I know you up there in Mobile, Alabama. I know there's a couple of Trojans up there on these teams. Are there any Bruins on these teams? Have you seen one UCLA helmet since you've been up in Mobile, Alabama? No, nothing.
Yeah, we don't need those games. We don't need those games to boost our visibility.
All right, do me one favor in this particular situation. I know where you're going.
Yeah.
On these first 2 topics where they're loaded full of information,
They are. No,
I don't know what you do to this guy, but not on 1 and 2.
It's a lot of money. It's unbelievable. This
giving
guy.
You a lot of meat here, brother.
No, you are. But something just hit me, and I can't help myself. No, Scotty, man, it's just unbelievable the amount of money these coaches are being dealt. This guy is responsible for these buyouts. I mean, we're talking about $135 million in buyouts right there. That's unbelievable, Scott. It's crazy, but it just tells you how big this game is, how much these universities want to win, how much money these quote unquote elite coaches are commanding. And it's so competitive to get a good coach. You got to give them crazy money. It gets crazier and crazier because it's just so hard to find those proven commodities. And, Jimbo Fisher, had a run at Florida State. That's why they paid him like that at A&M. And then from there, Brian Kelly had a run at Notre Dame, and that's why they pay him like that at LSU. So that's what as crazy it is. That's the market. That's the kind of contract that comes with the elite coaches and these universities. That's the kind of money you have to offer to pay out if it doesn't go well. But again, that's how much money these young kids are worth, and that just tells you what their value is.
Yeah. So again, the key core numbers I want to make sure people understand that for Scott Woodward, $129 million combined, you get $76 million on the Fisher front. Then you get Kelly on the other side. Now let me go over though the Woodward thing because it takes an added dimension. Here's a guy though that ended up having 7 national championships. So I'm going to list each of those. In 2019, you have the football national champion. 2021, men's track and field national champions. 2023, women's basketball national champions. 2023, Mets baseball, Mets would love that. But men's baseball national champions. 2024 dance national champions. Emma Smith, maybe ought to take this one up, and then you can win Dancing with the Stars. That's where my sense of humor is this early anyways. But 2024 gymnastics national champions, and of course 2025 men's baseball national champions. Let's not kid yourself. Baseball at LSU, they're awfully good there. So, and Kim Mulkey obviously was naturally disappointed that he left, but Kim, give me a break. I mean, this guy's doling off a lot of money, and he obviously was your boss. So as we take down Marvin and everybody else has a chance to absorb what he's saying, because then you'll follow suit, his body of work with 7 national championships, that's still, he's had some success there.
Yeah, he has, obviously, and I hate to say this because all the championships matter, but football and men's basketball, I think, are the only ones that are really profitable. I don't know how much more money they're making with these championships. Those non-football schools, aren't hurting their school in regards to coach's salary or anything else like that. It's football that drives everything. I think we know that. But no, man, listen, he knows how to hire a head coach that's relevant. You named off a lot of sports there. I don't know if he's in charge of the dance team or not, but I guess we count that too. So yeah, man, he knows how to pick a coach. It's just these football coaches that he got. At least Brian Kelly just wasn't it, man. There was so much hope going into that guy, but fortunately, they've had enough success outside of football to maybe drown some of that noise.
Okay, Mel, I've given a lot of information here. By now, you've had a chance to absorb it a little bit. Just give me your overall take so far on this, and then we'll talk about the sequence of events that got Woodward fired. Go ahead, Mel.
Well, like Marvin said, the only championships that really matter are the football championships and the basketball championships. The other ones are great. I mean, the Pac-12 talks about it all the time. When they were the Pac-12, the Conference of Champions, they got a lot of championships in a lot of those other sports. Now, of course, USC may have won some in football, but they had a lot of championships in gymnastics and all those other Olympic type sports that aren't revenue generating sports. You have to win in the big sports, and he didn't win in the big sports, and that's why he no longer has that job. And I don't know if he got a kickback from those guys or what, man, but those are two whopping salaries that he gave them. And it just tells you the kind of pressure that these ADs are under to bring a championship to the university. And again, he's responsible. He brought those people in, but somebody else approved those contracts. He wasn't the only, he's not the sole decision maker in providing those contracts, because they are public universities, so they have to get approval from other people in order to award out those contracts. He's just the one that obviously, that ends up having his head on the chopping block. But there's other people that are responsible for making those decisions.
Okay, Candy.
So if you go back a little ways in Woodard's previous, he started at Washington. And when the first year he was there, they faced a budget deficit of $2.8 million. So they eliminated the men and women's swimming program. While he was there, he's credited with hiring Steve Sarkisian, luring Chris Peterson away. They did a $282 million reconstruction of their Husky Stadium that was completed in 2013. In addition, contributions to the athletic department more than doubled when he was there, from $12.6 million to $26.6 million.
You're talking about Woodward, right?
I'm talking about Woodward, yes.
Okay, just making sure. Okay.
And then he went to Texas A&M. And during his time at Texas A&M, and I'm going to say this again, every sports team participated in postseason play. I wonder how much you can say about that with any other school. Every team participated in. And then, yes, he went to LSU, and he's hired some big name people there. And let's face it, to get the big names, you're going to have to pay out the big dollars. And it's a supply and demand. And there's only so many big name schools that these coaches can go to. You're going to have to pay some big money to get them. And unfortunately, if it doesn't work out the way you want, you're stuck in a contract, and you have to make a decision. Are you going to keep paying him, or are you going and letting him coach, or are you just going to cut your losses? Yes, still pay him, and then move on.
So the narrative gets even more interesting, okay? Because now at the beginning of November, we're looking around November 5th. Again, I'm talking about chronology here about Brian Kelly, and I'll tell you where we're leading with this in a moment. So everybody's wondering, why are you talking about Brian Kelly now? Don't worry. I'm at the Senior Bowl, and he had a quarterback that he did not develop here. That's why I'm bringing it on today's episode. So let's continue on. So he gets fired. LSU brings on Verge Osbury as your full-time athletic director. Brian Kelly rejects 2 settlement offers of $25 and $30 million through 2031. The university was attempting to see him, to actually sue him, but he was never fully terminated. So now it even becomes more interesting to begin with. We have Tommy joining the parade. I'll go ahead and bring up to speed in just a moment. So now LSU is trying to terminate the guy with cause to get around paying this guy the money to begin with after you just let him go. And it's already getting uglier to begin with. And they also let Jones, so now they're talking about firing Kelly and Joe Sloan, and the lawyers claim. So now it gets uglier to the legal situation. Marvin, again, we talk about a situation where LSU didn't want to pay the bill now. So
Yeah, I get it. Listen, this is the kind of stuff that major corporations do. Am I shocked? Kind of, because stuff like this becomes public, and then when you have a reputation of not wanting to honor the contract, you wonder if that's going to impact other coaches wanting to play for you when they see that at the end you like to act, foul, if you will. But it doesn't shock me though. Again, the way he went out, man, some of the things that he said, the energy he had when he left was bad. It was really bad. I mean, I'm not going to say he set the house on fire before he left, but I didn't feel like he showed the level of accountability you need, that you need to when you're in his position. And I don't think the relationship between him and the school was good in the end. And I think he went from sweet Louisiana to old school mean old Boston. And they wanted to see if they can keep some of that money. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of bread, that you got to give somebody to fail, because they failed. Then they now get this buyout money because you want to fire them. So yeah, I think it's a bad look for everybody involved. I do, but I understand. The LSU again, they're a major corporation trying to save their money, do what they can. You got to read the fine print in these contracts, but it is what it is, man. This is what they do.
Well, the thing is, the university was attempting to fire him, would backfired anyways, because this thing could have been drawn out for like 5-6 months in terms of what the contract is. All in all, it was a mess. So here's the bottom line of all of this. Okay, he's out of a job, but now with all this money, LSU finds itself in a PR mess. So why did this not get any further than it did? I'll tell you one reason. Guess what? You need a coach, don't you? What kind of example do you want to set? Okay, well, we're going to pay Kelly his money. Why should I bother to go there?
Exactly.
So you don't need lawyers and all this to go through. Better pay him. We need somebody else. Of course, little did we find out that Lane Kiffin would be that somebody else for a lot more money. So, but here's the thing that really bothers me about all of this, okay? And now Candy and I are seeing it for ourselves. We're over at a press conference the other day. You got Garrett Nussmeier, Brian Kelly, and that system failed this kid. They really, really did. And that's what bothers me. I'm standing across this kid. He's as polite and energetic as he can be. He still has an all-star game. He's going to have pro days. He's going to have the combine and a chance to be to get drafted. I have a feeling he'll be a middle round pick because of the fact that he was set back. But this was a bad PR mess. So Marvin, now the university is forced to pay him because he needed somebody else. So why bother to sue the guy? Because now we're going to develop a reputation with all this money, but we don't pay this last guy, even though the other ones are gone. This is where this whole thing comes into play. And not only that, Marvin, I'll let you. Let's talk about Nussmeier on the back end, and then we'll turn over to Candy, Tommy, and Mel.
Yeah, listen. If you're LSU and you're suing your coach, you're in a legal battle with your coach. It's just, like I said before, it's just a horrible look. It's a bad situation. Nobody wants to work in that type of environment for that type of corporation. But at the same time, for as bad as it was, for as bad as he was leaving, we don't know the details. We don't know how ugly it really got, in the building. We don't know the conversations and the words and the language that was used to really piss off people at LSU and make them believe that they had reason. So, and Brian Kelly doesn't seem like he comes off as a guy who can get nasty. He comes off as a guy who can really say some ugly words to you, old school in many ways. I think he's a Northeast guy. I think he's a Boston guy. So yeah, man, I wouldn't doubt that people got pissed off and want to get sued. And then you look at the previous coach. I hate to say my man, Ed Ogeron, his situation wasn't sweet the way it went out, the way he went out there. So they've had some issues with their coaches. Brian Kelly's the latest of it. Nussmeier, this is a guy who they thought was going to be a top 3 pick going into the season. He was listed. I think his dad is a quarterback coach somewhere in the NFL. They thought this guy was going to be a top draft pick, and be a Heisman Trophy candidate. I mean, that's what you heard. That was what was being said about him. So yeah, to see him kind of drop off with that team and just see how it went with the coach. I mean, obviously they failed to really turn this guy into the top pick. I mean, well, we haven't had the draft yet, but you're not hearing his name as a top 3 pick is the point. It was their preseason. Now it's just, like you said, Scotty, middle of the pack. That's a lot of bread you think that you're talking about losing. The guys who go in the top 2, top 3, you're looking at $50 million guaranteed. Middle of the pack, man, that you ain't getting nothing close to that. So, yeah, it sucks for the quarterback, man. It didn't work out. You wonder how much of an impact that Brian Kelly had, and because he seemed like he really messed this whole thing up as he left.
Yeah, Brian Kelly failed Garrett Nussmeier, period. $53 million to not coach. And I broke down the particulars as well earlier, like $808,000 a month. I mean, give me a break. All right, Candy.
So let's reel it back a little bit. So yes, they went to court. It had to do with, was he fired with cause or without cause? What all that went on in that courtroom, I don't know. But they settled. And they said that the condition that for Kelly is that he has to make good faith, reasonable, and sustained efforts to obtain qualifying employment. If he secures another coaching or related position, the salary from that job will offset the amount by LSU. And reports are that there's a major private donor who is set to cover the bulk of this buyout. The buyout is set to be paid out over the remaining 6 years of his contract. So if he doesn't get a job for 6 years, yes, he's going to be paid this whole amount. But if he does get a job someplace else, then it gets offset. Now, do I feel bad for the quarterback? Absolutely. But remember, at the Senior Bowl, it's all about proving yourself. It's about hidden gems. Scott, you've talked about it.
Right.
Yes, maybe he's not going to go in the top, and that's going to cost him some money initially. But who knows? He could be the next Tom Brady. You just never know, and go in the 6th round and look and win how many Super Bowls. You just never know. So I think it'll really depend on where he goes. And sometimes being the number 1 pick isn't the best thing. Let's face it. Yes, Cam Ward made a lot of money that first year, but look at his record. Look where he is right now. He's without a coach again. And so I think what Nussmeier needs is a good, solid coaching that stays put and helps him. Hopefully he gets to the NFL, and then he gets a good coach that'll help really develop him, because I think he can be good, but like we've all said, coaching matters. Leadership matters.
Okay, we welcome Tom Shanahan into the show. Yeah, Tom. That's okay. We'll give you the Cliff Notes version. How does that sound? Okay. Brian Kelly left and it was ugly. So
no, I understand. Hey, you reap what you sow. They're probably still paying Ed Origin, and now they're going to pay Brian Kelly. Lane Kiffin is going to blow up on them. They're already got this commission on National Letter of Intent, College Sports Commission, or whatever it's called.
Right.
LSU apparently is going to be one of the schools they're going to investigate about third parties for NIL, and LSU is going to be the case study of how a school wastes a lot of money. It just came out that Rutgers is running like a $500 deficit since they joined the Big Ten, despite all the money they get from the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And, LSU might be one of these next schools running a huge deficit. Because, Brian Kelly, he might have run his course, but anybody that we already saw that this was blowing up on Brian Kelly when Notre Dame went to the college football finals last year. Right. And he said he was going to LSU for a better chance to win a national title. This is going to be a case study for what went wrong with college football.
Okay. Great points, Tommy. Thanks. That's a good way to. That's a good Cliff Notes version of it. So, and I'll ask the panel after Mel's done whether or not he ever gets another job. Go ahead, but I want to make sure we get through all these facts first. Go ahead, Mel.
LSU swung for the fences and they missed. That's what happens. I mean, in order to get a guy like Brian Kelly, in order to get him to leave Notre Dame, because Notre Dame is a destination job. That's not a stepping stone job. That's not a job that people generally leave from and go somewhere else coaching unless they're fired. He was successful at Notre Dame, and he was lured away from Notre Dame to go to LSU. The only way you can lure someone away from a big-time blue-chip program like Notre Dame is you have to pay big money. So they swung for the fences, and he missed. And now what they're going to do is they swung for the fence again. That's the type that, that's the environment that college football is in right now. Everybody wants the hottest, biggest, baddest guy right now. Whether it's the coach, whether it's a player, that's what everybody wants. Everybody wants the 5-star player. They want the 5-star coach as well. LSU is trying to win national championships by any means possible. And again, Scott Woodward wasn't the only one. He identified the person, he identified the coach, but somebody else had to make the decision regarding the money. He's not the one that puts the money together because he's not the one that's going to pay it. They had to go to the board of regents and different things, different places of that nature in order to get approval to have these type of contracts, because he is a public employee. They're at public universities, so he's getting the go ahead. Other people are making the decision about the money, but he's just the fall guy. He identified the individual. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. But there's a lot of people there in the state of Louisiana with egg on their face, not just him.
Great points. Well, the bottom line is when it's all said and done, LSU knew they had to make sure they got the Kelly thing right, because it's a bad PR mess to begin with, and you don't want to develop a reputation. You're bringing a guy for a lot of money, you're not paying him. And then this Nussmeier thing is totally unfortunate. So, Marvin, my question to you is this. Does Brian Kelly land another job in the foreseeable future, if at all?
Another job? Definitely.
A coaching job.
Yeah. He'll get another job in the Power Four, in the Big Ten, ACC, SEC. No.
Okay.
No.
Fair enough. Candy?
Yeah, I agree. He'll get another coaching job because he's had success, but it won't be at any of the big schools.
Okay. Tom?
Yeah, ditto. There's enough small colleges out there, or group of 5 colleges, I shouldn't say small, want his resume. He's 64, though, and he seems to have been losing interest in coaching in those final years at LSU. He wasn't the same coach he was when Notre Dame was winning and when he had success at Cincinnati, Central Michigan, and won national titles at Grand Valley State. Every coach hits a wall at some point where they're not the same coach.
Okay. Mel?
His phone will ring whether or not he's going to be motivated to get up off the couch to take another job. I can't see that. I think he'll definitely get phone calls, but I don't see him any job other than a Power 4 job that would, in a big time Power 4 job, there would be enough motivation for him to get off the couch and stop collecting the check that he's collecting. Why would he?
Yeah, I agree. I don't see him landing anytime soon. Why should he? There's no motivation, getting paid a lot of money. And he also, like you said, Mel, throughout, and everybody, he left LSU on a bad note. And the way he's not getting any style points for his exit strategy by any stretch. It was bad. I mean, it was really bad. And I like the Southern twang at the beginning, going down there thinking you're going to fit in with these.
What are you saying was bad about the way he left? Because he wouldn't take a buyout? Because he wouldn't take a settlement?
No. I just think his arrogant.
Yeah.
I mean, he was arrogant coming in.
Yeah, well, he's worse going out.
Yeah.
Right?
No, absolutely, man. I saw, don't quote me on anything, but I saw some of his last couple of media appearances and just things he had said. His energy was completely negative. It was not a good situation. It wasn't a good look for a guy who is going to go to another school and say, hey, hire me. I'm a class act when things go well and when things don't go well. He can't say that.
You're talking about his last media experiences.
Yeah,
he was still coaching. Yeah, I mean,
he wasn't showing no accountability at all.
He was under a lot of pressure, man. Yeah,
Yeah, but come on, Mel, let's get real.
Pressure.
And-
The guy's making $20 million a year. That's what comes with it. You
Mel,
know
come
that.
on.
I understand
Accountability,
that.
man.
I'm not making
Well,
excuses for him. I'm just saying the guy was under pressure, man. He didn't know how to handle it.
Everybody's under pressure, but give me a break, man. Accountability. This guy didn't.
I mean, you have to
show
understand
any.
this is like really the first time that he's been in this type of situation, right? Everywhere he's been successful. They've been praising him, talking about how great he is. All of a sudden, you got people, they're just every day, man, just firing at him every day. And he doesn't have any answers. He didn't have any answers.
No, but he had the
Well-
twang going under to think he could fit in with these people, and they twanged him, and then they wanged him. Is what they did to these.
No, he twanged
Hey,
them. No, he
Scott,
twanged them. He got them.
This is Mel and his typical UCLA mentality. You know what I mean? He understands that. I mean, you don't understand that. We different caliber dudes. You know what I'm saying? He got sympathy for this dude. You know,
I'm not saying I have sympathy
you
for
hear
him. I'm just
you hear him?
look. I'm not saying I have sympathy for him. I'm not saying that at all.
This guy
I'm
didn't have more.
simply pointing out that he's been successful and praised everywhere he's been. Talked about he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Now the first time he's facing adversity, he doesn't know how to handle it. That's
He
all I'm
falls
saying.
apart.
Yeah, he doesn't know how to handle it.
Unravels. Yeah.
Well, if he does go anywhere, I think the only real place for him to go is he should go. Hold on, let me finish. He should go back to the Midwest, probably. That would be the only place he could go because he's had a lot of success in that area. But accountability is really what it comes down to, and he didn't show any on the outdoor. But I know that everybody.
There were stories that came out at the end there too, whereas one of his assistant coaches had a 4-star, 5-star recruit on the phone and wanted Kelly to talk to him a little bit, and Kelly said, "Tell him to make an appointment."
Really?
And so the guy wasn't the same coach anymore. He was just cashing in on the money.
There you go. There you go, Mel. You don't have nothing to say, so we'll go to your
That's Mel's boy. That's Mel's boy.
Not my boy. Not at all.
You know what, Mel?
I'm just giving you a different side to look at.
Tommy just chumped you, is what he did. He really did. Okay, well, let's go ahead.
Look here, I'm not a Brian Kelly fan, and I've said that on here before. I've said that. I'm just giving you the other side of the coin. That's all.
Well, the other side of the coin was Tommy just chumped you. Okay, but that's okay. I'll let you get out of it here with UCLA, because a lot of what took place with Bob Chesney actually began when James Madison was 9-1 at the time. But get this, and this is what's so interesting about how this whole thing played out. And he obviously did lead them to a college football playoff appearance. But last year, Bob Chesney was 9-4, and he ended up winning a bowl game. And his prior stop, he ended up making 4 consecutive FCS playoff appearances at Holy Cross. Let's not kid yourself. Bob Chesney goes into that UCLA job with a lot of cash is really what he does. What he did at Holy Cross was unbelievable. And James Madison, we talk about Kurt Signetti, but Bob Chesney has some pretty good accomplishments at these other levels as well. I mean, think about it, Marvin. To win at Holy Cross 4 he's there 4 times, and James Madison, we got to give him a little bit of love for this hire, don't we, Marvin? I mean,
first of all, I didn't even know Holy Cross had a football team. Okay, I didn't even know they had a football team.
Live and learn.
Thought you were a football savant. You should know that.
Relevant football. Number 2, look, after the incident, let's be honest. After the disaster, after that embarrassment of a season that UCLA just had, right? They happy to get anybody. And this guy Chesney, look, he had some. What's the school? James Madison. Okay, they won a few games, and that's what they could do. They got Bob Chesney. He has a track record of winning. I don't know if he's won at an elite level, but college football history, we've seen a lot of no-name coaches come from small schools and do well. Kurt Signetti, I don't know if he's Kurt Signetti, Scott. That we reaching for that one. But Bob Chesney, I hope he's the magic man, the miracle worker that can bring life back into this program at UCLA. This is a program where outside of football, they have tremendous success. They've had 100 national championships. We're not talking about football, but they've had 100 national championships in gymnastics and softball and baseball and track and basketball and the girls' sports. So, if he's the magic man, if he's the one that's going to come in here and be their John winning the football, then more power to him. I hope he could take the success he had at James Madison and Holy Cross and bring that to the Big Ten. I'll be waiting. As you know, as a USC alum, we have an annual game with them at the end of the season, and I'll be looking forward to seeing what they do.
How many times did you win that game, Marvin?
You live in the past, man. Can't you?
Inquiry minds wanted to know.
All right, we'll let Candy get to it first, and then you can go ahead and
so
get
rude.
the inquiring minds later. So,
Rude.
but I definitely feel that UCLA got it right with the Bob Chesney. I just wanted to provide some more insight. Now you do know there is football over at Holy Cross, Marvin. Otherwise, you're going to be thinking of Harry Carey, and you'll be saying, "Holy cow!" Okay, because now you know. And there's your only baseball analogy you're ever going to get because you don't do baseball anyways. But still, but they have a good coach there. I mean, it looks like the road to these big schools is through James Madison.
We're gonna see. We have to find out.
Yeah, I mean, we'll find out.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Candy, go ahead. Fill in some blanks if there are any.
On December 14th of 2017, Chesney was named the 28th head football coach at the College of Holy Cross. Over 6 seasons, he compiled a 44-21 overall record, including a dominant 28-4 mark in conference play. Under Chesney, Holy Cross claimed an unprecedented 5 straight Patriot League championships, the first team in league history to do so. In 2022, his squad went 11-0 in the regular season, the program's first undefeated regular season since 1991. They finished 12-1 overall and advanced to the FCS quarterfinals, the deepest playoff run for Holy Cross in nearly 4 decades. He was named Coach of the Year back in 2022. Then he was hired at James Madison. In his first season, he led the Dukes to a 9-4 overall record and captured the program's first bowl victory ever in a win in the Boca Raton Bowl over Western Kentucky. In 2025, the Dukes had an 11-1 record and secured the Sun Bowl East Division Championship. On December 5th, they defeated Troy in the Sun Belt Conference Championship. 2 days later, they were selected in the college football playoffs as the number 12 seed. And then, yes, UCLA was granted him permission that he could keep coaching James Madison through the playoff run, which I think speaks volumes. I have to give kudos to UCLA for that because I really believe that was helpful for James Madison and a good thing to keep the continuity going. For some of these schools that didn't, you don't have necessarily the same. I mean, it didn't translate to success, but still, kudos for them to get where they did. And I think it's a really good hire.
Okay, Tommy, thoughts about the Chesney hire over at UCLA?
Yeah, Bob Chesney clearly knows X's and O's. He's won wherever he's been, just like Kirk Signetti. But I brought this up before. So did Mike Houston. He won at places, the Citadel. He won at Lenore Ryan. He played at a place, talking about schools you never knew about. He played at a place called Mars Hill in North Carolina. So Mars Hill. But my point is, he's coached throughout this North Carolina, the Citadels in South Carolina. He went to high school in North Carolina. He seemed like the perfect fit for East Carolina. He had success at James Madison, won national title. He knows X's and O's, but he ended up getting fired. He never turned it around at East Carolina. I asked a few coaches around here because I live in the North Carolina area, and they said it was because East Carolina never adjusted to the NIL area, and they got caught short on talent. And that's going to be the real question about UCLA and Bob Chesney. Have they fixed whatever deficiencies they had on NIL and getting players to come to such an expensive area to live and play? Right. But it's about more than X's and O's. It's a different game now.
Mel, floor's yours. He's your coach.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to temper my enthusiasm. I don't know. I mean, I think I'm concerned that UCLA thinks that or thought that maybe they could catch lightning in the bottle twice. Indiana was able to get Kurt Signetti from James Madison, and look what he's done for that program. To say, oh, well, let's go where Indiana went. Let's get the guy that James Madison picked. Maybe they know how to pick. Maybe they know how to find coaches, and we don't. Let's just get that coach and not really do a whole lot of due diligence. So I don't know. I'm gonna temper my enthusiasm. I have to wait and see. I'm gonna have to wait and see what happens with this guy. We're excited about him coming to UCLA, but I just have to. I don't want to get too excited right now. We'll just have to wait and see.
That's fair. I mean, like anything else, UCLA is attempting to make a big splash, but we'll see how it all plays out. And I said attempting. We'll just put a TBD on this. And now Marvin has a chance to brag because the number one recruiting class in 2026 belongs to USC football. Marvin, go ahead.
Scott, listen, we don't brag, we tell the truth. Okay. You just said it. The number one recruiting class. It is what it is. It sounds phenomenal. Every Michigan State wishes they had it. South Florida wishes they had it. UCLA wishes they had it. Wisconsin wishes they had it. But we have it. Okay. And it is what it is. We have a phenomenal group. Listen, we signed 34 guys. We signed, and out of 34 guys, 32 of them are already on campus. The number one player in the country, Luke Wafel, defensive end out of Jersey, state player of the year in Jersey. He's part of that. Kenye Pepe, number one left tackle high school football. He's part of that. Jonas Williams, quarterback. I mean, we got so many guys coming in who are going to have an impact, and it's remarkable because when you look at the fact that offensively USC is returning all five starters at the offensive line. We're returning our quarterback. Defensively, we have a lot of young talent coming back. And a lot of that number one recruiting class is defensive guys. So it's something special. Lincoln Riley and Chad Bowden, our general manager, really stepped up here. Our alumni and all of our supporters stepped up. NIL USC was a strong player in the NIL space. We have a new athletic facility going up. I mean, so yeah, it's a great time to be a Trojan for sure. And we're looking for some real impact out of this freshman class as we head into the Big Ten this year with a very serious schedule.
All right, Candy.
Just because you have all the high recruits does not mean it's necessarily going to translate on the field. It will wait and see. You just never know. It depends on how everybody gels together, how they're coached. We've said this. Coaching matters. And leadership matters. So it remains to be seen. But yes, they have done an awesome job in the recruiting area.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing before I turn it over to Tommy. I like everything Lincoln Riley's doing. I really do. He's on a roll. It took USC a little time to get adjusted to the Big Ten, like everybody else. Let's face the reality. Between them and UCLA, they get hit with some of the worst travel schedules on the planet. And for them, more so over Oregon and Washington, they have to deal with weather challenges with the snow and ice more than the other two schools above in the Pacific Northwest. So now UCLA and USC had weather challenges in addition to travel. But so far, so good for Lincoln Riley. This can only help them by having the number one recruiting class. All right, Tommy.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything surprising about that. They always have good recruiting classes. They have the framework. They have everything going for them to attract top recruits. But similar to what I said about UCLA and the Mike Houston comparison, this is a different era. 4-star and 5-stars were willing to sit behind on the bench and wait their turn for Nick Saban at Alabama, and that's not the case at Alabama anymore. Are these guys at USC, if you're stockpiling so much talent, are they going to wait, or are they going to take NIL money and go somewhere else? Right. So that's the question.
Mel?
Yeah, I mean, we know that number one recruiting classes don't mean a whole lot. You got to be able to develop those guys. Those younger guys aren't coming in, and most of them aren't coming in. If you're playing a lot of young guys and you have some problems, you got a lot of holes to fill. So I'm not really impressed with that. Marvin's impressed by it. He's excited about it. Woo woo! We got some good freshmen coming in here. But again, we know that and he said it himself. There's an issue with the ranking services because some guy is hit and miss. And Marvin knows that firsthand. He's been there. He's seen, man, this guy's supposed to be all that. He was ranked higher than me. And then Yeah, I couldn't even imagine, guys ranked higher than you and he's getting more money than you. So you're really looking at him side-eyed. So that number one ranking doesn't impress me. Let's see what Lincoln Riley is able to do on the field, because I'm sure he's had some number one classes when he was at Oklahoma and they hadn't won anything. So we'll see what happens here.
I knew this was a good topic. I knew anytime you talk about number one recruiting classes with you two on here, and Tommy, there, just to go ahead and watch these two battle it out on some of these topics. I told you, Tommy, these guys are good, aren't they? Just by themselves, the way they battle.
Oh yeah, I already knew that.
Yeah, I know. Well, you get them on Tuesday night, but now you get to see them in a much more different environment on Saturday. What things are more concentrated on certain specific type of topics, and on Tuesday, which is more nuts and bolts based on what you've done over the weekend. All right. Well, some actually good news. I'm sorry.
Let's address. There's a question in the chat that I think Marvin, if he knows.
Time for adjustment to progress today. Griggs, not by name. I'm gonna look that up though. I'm gonna look that up. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Hey, Jen, how you doing? Jennifer Lee Cobb, one of my favorite people out there. How you doing? Great to see you again, Jen. She's a supporter of the show, a really good friend of mine. One of these days, I hope to meet Jen. Thanks for sharing out some of your morning as well. All right, well, some really good news out there for our friend Alex Mortensen, because UAB actually removed his interim tag and they promoted him to head coach. We talked about this earlier. He went 2-4 leading the Blazers following the firing of Trent Dilfer, including a top 25 win over a ranked Memphis team. Some thoughts, Marvin, about Alex Mortensen finally getting the full-time job over at UAB?
Yeah, I think that for me, the bigger story is just the fact that UAB, their football program is going to be back. Alabama is a state rich in high school football talent and tradition. And, everybody can't go to Alabama. So UAB was a program, was a proud program for many years. I'm happy that this guy did enough to show that he can lead the way full time. And I'm happy that the people of Birmingham have a local team that they can root for or cheer for. Again, as I said, proud program for many years. And you just hate to see colleges lose their teams, because when you lose your team, that hits the community, so this is just a good sign of things to come, hopefully. And I wish him nothing but the best and continued success.
Candy.
In 2012, he joined the New Mexico Highlands University as their passing game coordinator. He then spent 2013 as a coaching assistant with the St. Louis Rams. In 2014, he joined Alabama Crimson Tide as an offensive graduate assistant. Then in 2018, he became the wide receivers coach for the Birmingham Iron of the Alliance of American Football. Then he was named offensive coordinator on December 2nd, 2022. He replaced, obviously, Trent Dilfer on October 12th, 2025, after UAB fired him. And then he coached his team to lead to an upset over number 22 Memphis. To take a team that just lost their head coach and probably was the main reason why numerous of those students went to that school, and to keep gelling them, keep them motivated, and get them to win a ranked opponent is a great job. And UAB decided, you know what, let's ride with him. He did that. He took him there. He's had numerous coaching, along the way. Let's see what he can do. Kudos to them for that. And kudos to him for getting the head coaching job. We don't always see that the interim gets the coaching job. So when you do, it's refreshing because he knows the program.
Tommy?
Yeah, well, first let's mention that he's the son of Chris Mortensen, the legendary sports writer, mostly known at ESPN, but he was also he started out his writing career in the Los Angeles area at the Torrance newspaper. It was at the Atlanta Constitution. Actually served in Vietnam too. He was over there a couple of years. So some sports writers do have kids that become good athletes. He brought a lot of energy when he came in and took over for Dilfer, and the upset of Memphis was a clear example. But the other thing, going back to what Marvin said, they cut their football program for a while there, and I remember reading about that. And there were some the University of Alabama, Birmingham was part of the University of Alabama system,
Right.
and there were trustees that just didn't want Alabama Birmingham cutting into the University of Alabama's territory. They want everything. It's the Bear Bryant syndrome. They're going to cut every corner so they get everything all for themselves.
Yeah.
So it's a sad story in a lot of ways, but now it has a good face on it with Alex Mortensen.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good. All right, Mel.
And where else were they going to go for a hire? I mean, it's not like people are beating down the door to go to UAB. I mean, they hired Trent Dilfer out of the studio, so I'm happy for the guy. He's put in his dues, and he'll get the opportunity, and I'm sure he'll make the most of that opportunity. Like Marvin said, that UAB is a proud program. They play some good football, although they haven't been around very long, but they're a very passionate fan base and very passionate about that football team. So I hope he's able to do some great things for him.
Yeah, I hope Alex does well too. I mean, he's the right guy for that particular program for sure, and he was able to rally him for sure. All right, what you want to talk about the end of an era?
Brian Kelly turned down that job.
Oh, yeah, that's did he really? Well, I guess he won't need that one for a while. We'll see what other transformation projects he'll have. He'll wait 4 or 5, 6 years when he doesn't bother to pursue a job, even though he's supposed to under those terms that Candy discussed. So you want to talk about tradition, but for the first time since 2016, the FCS championship did not feature North Dakota State or South Dakota State. The last time the FCS championship didn't feature the Jackrabbits or Bison, James Madison defeated Youngstown State 28-14. That was back in 2016 and 17. An FYI, okay, in the Senior Bowl, Cole Payton out of North Dakota State is playing for the national squad. And guess what? Another FYI. I had a chance to talk to him yesterday or a couple of days ago, and Cole Payton's a good guy, and he's a left-handed quarterback. If you want to catch that interview, you can go to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. It is there. So what are your thoughts about the fact, Marvin, that you had no North Dakota State and South Dakota State in the FCS championship? And, of course, now we obviously have the quarterback for North Dakota State here that'll be on display over at Hancock-Whitney Stadium.
Listen, North Dakota State and South Dakota State are two very proud FCS programs, very successful programs. But, man, that North Dakota State, they were on a serious run. You talk about dominance. You talk about, being, listen, it became so normal at the end of the year, when college football was over and they head to the playoffs, that you were getting ready to watch North Dakota State play. If you didn't watch them play all year, you were going to see them in the playoffs on ESPN or a similar channel. Every single year they were competing high. They got guys getting drafted to the NFL, and this is a high level elite FCS program. We saw them do it for about a decade here, and I think part of why they've probably fallen off here the last couple of years, they lost their head coach. I forgot his name. The guy who was their head coach ended up going to USC to be our linebacker coach, and now he's the head coach of Fresno State. I think his name is Matt something. But no, man, these are powerhouse programs that play serious ball in the middle of nowhere. And listen, this year I actually watched Montana play Montana State for the championship, and I did think to myself, it's crazy that you don't have North Dakota State in this game because you're so used to it.
Well, like I said before at the beginning, the first time you haven't had North Dakota State or South Dakota State. The only time I ever used to hear about them in the NCAA tournament, but these are powerhouses at that FCS level. Don't take those schools lightly. And as I said, you got a player, Cole Payton of North Dakota State, who I deliberately went out of my way to try to get, and Candy and I found him. She was hustling these players as I needed them, and they're over at the Senior Bowl. So these FCS schools are well represented at the Senior Bowl and these All-Star games. All right, Candy.
So the Bison have had 32 head coaches since it began play in 1894. So that's a long time. 11 coaches have led North Dakota State to the postseason. The Bison have also won 23 combined conference championships. And I'll be honest with you, like, I didn't realize they had such a big football history because I know North Dakota State more for their hockey and that they produce, real good hockey players as well. But yeah, kudos to them. I mean, it's unfortunate. Is it unfortunate that they weren't in the FCS? No, I think it's not. I think it's cool to see different colleges get in there and make a run. It just makes the conference more interesting, I think.
Tommy?
Hey, I think the real story is that Illinois State shows you that other teams can get in there, break into that top group. And if I think I'm correct on this, the ratings were higher for the FCC Champion TV finals than recent years. And so that's an example of how the FCS schools are drawing more and more attention. Football in general is drawing more and more attention. We got to remember that it wasn't that long ago people were saying concussions were going to be the death of football, and football has taken on a completely different trajectory since then.
Well, think about it. The Big Sky Conference. They do develop some good. That's a good conference for sports. It really is a Big Sky Conference. Don't sell them short. Montana State, Montana. I mean, they charge a lot of money for those games up there, albeit the stadiums are smaller. But the Big Sky Conference, don't sleep on it. Mel?
Well, I think it has to do with the NIL and the transfer portal. Every year you get thousands of players that are going in the transfer portal. Everybody's not landing, at their preferred school, and so kids are having to play down. And it's the same thing that you're seeing in the FBS level, where schools who traditionally weren't powerhouses, are playing good football, like we've had Indiana this past year. So I think you're going to see a lot of that because a lot of these kids who are at Power Four conferences and they go into the transfer portal, they're not able to get to their to the destination that they thought they were going to go to. They can't go back to the school that they just left. We're putting the transfer portal. I mean, they put them in the portal because they replaced them with somebody else. So what are they left with? They don't have any other options. So they go down to the FCS level and they pick some of these other schools. And these other schools are able to take advantage of what's happening up in the upper level, and you see a little bit more parity in the FCS now.
Fair enough. Yeah, well, it's a good brand of football up there. That's why year in and year out it continues to grow its audience. Well, the AFC Championship this year was the first without Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady since 2011. Marvin, no Patrick Mahomes, no Tom Brady, no problem. New England obviously made it in there, but it was different not seeing those two guys in it.
Yeah, listen, to get the nickname of GOAT and the nickname of Baby GOAT, you have to be dominant. I mean, you have to be a very special player. And obviously, Brady with his 7 Super Bowls and Pat with already at 3, that's dominant. That's 10 Super Bowls right there. I mean, that's true dominance. You don't see that in the NFL, in a league where there is parity, but you have good organizations, back organizations. The Chiefs, the Patriots are first-class organizations, man. They good with their players, do a good job identifying coaching, great leadership. And this whole thing that we talk about starts at the top, So, yeah, it's definitely different not seeing Mahomes in there. I've kind of gotten used to Brady not being around anymore. But, Pat's such a dominant player. The way he uplifts that organization. I mean, you talk about this guy can win MVP every year when you look at how important he is to those Chiefs. So, yeah, opportunity for Lamar Jackson, opportunity for Joe Burrow, opportunity for Josh Allen. To go out there and do something, man, because once Mahomes gets healthy, they're gonna be a threat in the AFC again.
Andy?
The GOAT, Tom Brady, retired how many years ago? So we know that he had a stronghold on that position for how long? And then along came Patrick Mahomes, and he's had consistently great career so far. He's had some really good teams. He's had some really good coaching. And unfortunately, he got injured this year. And the Chiefs couldn't overcome the injuries that they had. So they did not have the year that they were expecting. Is it unfortunate? If you're a Chiefs fan, yes. But if you're a fan of football, sometimes you want to see these other teams. You want to see other quarterbacks get in there. But Brady and Mahomes are two really, really elite quarterbacks. And it'll be interesting to see the new regime.
Tommy?
Yeah, everything runs its course. Patriots were out there for a long time. The Chiefs were out there for a long time. Mahomes obviously is a great player, but the Chiefs weren't as good a team as they have been in recent years. So even if he hadn't gotten hurt and they somehow snuck into the playoffs, they weren't going to go anywhere. So it's just part of the changing game, changing times. And I'm glad to see new faces like Drake May, bright new faces and guys who are good for the game.
Mel?
Yeah, Tommy, you hit it right on the head. I mean, it reminds me of that Quincy Jones song, "Everything Must Change," and that's just where we're at. I mean, they've run their course. I mean, it's hard to play at that level for an extended period of time, and with the what Kansas City's been able to do, and obviously what the Patriots did when Tom Brady was there, but that's very difficult. Marvin knows it's hard to win NFL games. Very, very difficult. It's very difficult to maintain that level of excellence week in and week out. In particular, when you have a bullseye on your back every week when you go out there and play, because you're going to get the best from your opponent every week, because everybody's trying to take you down. So it's just a part of evolution. Everything is going to change.
Well, great segue, because now we have a changing of the guard here as well, because obviously you have Drake May against Sam Darnold, and I'll get to that in a moment. Right? We only have a few more topics to go. Our goal is to be done by about 9:05, so we're on pace to do that. But Kansas City hasn't looked the same since Eric Bieniemy left, and guess what? The Chiefs agreed to rehire him again from the Chicago Bears. Some thoughts about the move, Marvin?
Listen, one of the things that you heard about Bieniemy is he was the pit bull on that coaching staff. He was the guy that was keeping these guys accountable, holding these guys in check, and you need that, man. You need accountability. And if you look at any championship team, a lot of times there's hard coaching, aka accountability. Coaches who don't let you slip, coaches who don't let the little things go by. And I think that's what Bieniemy has been. I think that's how a lot of those players know him up in KC. And I think for a guy like Andy Reid, who probably wants to be able to be more CEO and less involved with the offense to a degree, I think Bieniemy is a great choice. Bieniemy was the offensive coordinator there. I don't know if he caught a lot of games. I don't know if he was calling his own plays, but I think for Andy Reid, it's a big help. I think for Pat Mahomes, it's a big help. I think when you look at the effort just to bring accountability to that team, it's a big help. So yeah, I think it's a good move.
Andy?
I think it was a really good move. I mean, he used to be a running back. He's played in the offensive side of things. He's coached it. He's coached them to Super Bowls. He knows what to do to get what he needs to out of his players. And I think, like Marvin was saying, accountability. The Kansas City Chiefs lacked that this last couple of years, I think. So they welcome him back. And I know there is a bunch of fans that said their offense was not the same these last couple of years, that they really wanted him back. So kudos for them for realizing that and going out and getting him.
Bottom line is Andy Reid's biggest move of the offseason may not be the players, but was bringing back Eric Bieniemy. I think that's really because obviously they know what they had with him, and you see when he's gone now, you'll appreciate what he was like. And hopefully, if he goes back to Kansas City this time, that might be the springboard for him getting a head coaching job once and for all, because then you'll appreciate him what he does here this time around. Because the guy, Eric Bieniemy, by now should have had a head coaching job. Why he hasn't is beyond my wildest imagination. Go ahead, Tommy.
Hey, Eric Bieniemy is a condemning story for the NFL and its racial hiring policies on NFL head coaches. Andy Reid always said he was ready to be a head coach, and people said he didn't call plays, but that didn't stop his white offensive coordinators from getting head coaching jobs, like Matt Nagy, who was a bust in Chicago, and I think he was even interviewing for one of the open jobs now. I could be wrong on that, but I thought
No,
I
you're
read
right. It was Tennessee. Is it what he was looking
yeah,
at?
yeah. So Eric Bieniemy always got screwed over, and he kind of got forced into showing that he could be an offensive coordinator somewhere besides under Andy Reid. And he went to a bad situation in Washington. So it was a setback for him. And he's probably never going to get the chance he deserved. It reminds me a lot of Jimmy Ray's story. Jimmy Ray was talked about as one of the first, as a candidate to be the first black head coach in the NFL before it went to Art. Help me out here, Art
Shell.
Art Shell. Yeah, I wanted to say Art Still, the Kentucky guy, Art Shell, and he was. John Robinson hired him with the Rams. He was only the second black coordinator in NFL history in 1983. When Jimmy Ray got hired by the 49ers in 1977, there were only 10 black assistant coaches in a 28-team league. But anyway, it was the point I was getting to is Jimmy Ray, and I write about this in my book, Ray of Light. You can read about it because Jimmy told me all this. He was doing well with John Robinson at the Rams. Robinson was sorry to lose him, but he thought he needed to show he could be an offensive coordinator somewhere else to get that head coaching job. And he went to Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay blew up. That was when they wouldn't pay Bo Jackson, and they were unable to sign him. And the quarterback, Doug Williams, also ended up leaving Tampa Bay. So Jimmy Ray never got his chance. And it looks like a similar scenario is playing out for Eric Bieniemy. But let's remember, Andy Reid always said he deserved to be a head coach, and now he's proven it by bringing him back as his offensive coordinator. Sometimes coaches say that. They kind of have to say that. But if he didn't really believe in Eric Bieniemy, he wouldn't be bringing him back to an offense that needs to be rebuilt a little bit and revitalized.
I'll say one thing about Ben Johnson. He's going to find out that all of his coaches, now that he's had a good year, everybody's going to Chicago to snap up a few of those like he ended up doing a year ago. So what comes around goes around. And I'll say one thing before I turn over to Mel. If there's ever a guy who deserved an opportunity to be a head coach, it was Mean Joe Green, because all he did was mentor under Chuck Noll and Don Shula. And, of course, he also went out there, and I believe McGinnis, gosh, I'm drawing a blank with the first name. He was in Arizona. And he ended up, I'm drawing a blank on the first name, but no one can. He should come up with it. But Mean Joe Green should have gone ahead and gotten a head coaching job, but it was before his time. I'll even take it a step further. Patrick Ewing should have gotten one in the NBA, but we'll leave it at that. Go ahead. Candy, go ahead and find McGinnis's name before I go nuts here. All right, Mel, go ahead. I know you only have a couple more segments left in you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think Tom hit the nail right on the head with what he said. And, it's kind of nice to see Eric. A lot of times it doesn't work out this way where you kind of circle back and end up where you started off. But fortunately for him, he gets an opportunity to go back to Kansas City. I know he left because he wanted to prove that he could do it without Andy Reid, and went to Washington with Ron Rivera. And that situation blew up after 1 year. Then the situation at UCLA didn't help. That blew up after 1 year. He winds up in Chicago. And then, what's interesting about this is, Matt Nagy's there, and he's the quote unquote offensive coordinator right now. And his contract ran out, and they didn't extend his contract. They thought enough of Eric Bieniemy to bring Eric Bieniemy in and give him that job. And I think, you need that good cop, bad cop. And, obviously he plays the role of bad cop very well, and Andy plays the role of good cop very well. And maybe that's what that offense was missing. And that's, that could be one of the reasons why they brought him back.
Well, and also it jogged my memory, Dave McGinnis. It was a guy who ended up taking on Mean Joe Green. Mean Joe Green should have gotten a head job. It's just too bad. Well, obviously we'll talk about Shadeur Sanders a little bit, and we'll get more involved with him next week. The Browns' record, with all due respect, was 1-9 before he became a starter. It was 4-3 after he became a starter. Marvin, this is rapid fire. What are your thoughts about the before and after what you saw with Shadeur Sanders? We talked about it earlier this week about the fact that the Pro Bowl. We're past that, but Shadeur Sanders gets a break with Todd Monken. We'll elaborate more on that next. But let's just the overall body of work going from 1-9 to 4-3. That's not a bad act for Shadeur Sanders as the year played out.
To be on one of the worst teams in the NFL and to go 4-3. Listen, I said it when the boy was at Jackson State. Shadeur Sanders is going to be a star in the NFL, and I stand on that. And it's snowing in Atlanta. Go ahead.
Andy?
We all wondered how Shadeur would transition into the NFL. You go to one of the worst teams. They had how many quarterbacks at the start of the year? There was all kinds of mind games that were played. For him to have the results that he did, kudos to him.
Tommy?
Hey, Stefanski is another story of unfair opportunities. I mean, the guy completely botched the Cleveland quarterback situation because he didn't like Shadeur Sanders. And he gets fired, and where does he end up landing on his feet? With another job with the Atlanta Falcons. So wouldn't have happened with Eric Bieniemy or some other guy like that.
Great point. Mel?
Well, I think look at Colorado's record, and I think that tells you all you need to know about Shadeur. Look at what Colorado did this past year without Shadeur, or what they didn't do. It's not the talent hasn't got worse at Colorado. I think the talent is probably better at Colorado than the talent that he had when he was there. The guy can sling it. Like Marvin said, the guy can sling it. He just needs the opportunity. It doesn't surprise me what Shadeur is doing. It doesn't surprise me at all because I've seen it for 4 years. All the guy does is win. That's what he does. He carried Colorado the years that he was there. If you give him the opportunity, he's going to do the same thing.
Okay. All right. Well, Miami just got a little bit richer because Nebraska edge rusher Keona Davis was transferred to the Miami Hurricanes. He brings 32 tackles, 1.5 sacks in his sophomore season. Again, rapid fire. Marvin, what are your thoughts about Miami adding the Nebraska edge rusher?
He's going to go play for Jason Taylor. Did you see the defensive ends for UM this year? Granted, those guys came to UM with some dog in them already. Man, but if you don't think that being coached up by a Hall of Fame legend, Jason Taylor, is something special, you are crazy, man. I see him out there pregame, when I can catch him on camera and they're showing the defensive ends get ready. He knows what he's doing, man. He's getting them boys right.
Hey, Mel, we got 2 topics. Can you hang with for the last 2? I know you have an hour out. If 9:05 or hour out, you get it all in. Okay. All right, go ahead, Candy.
I've watched Jason Taylor pregame every single home game, watched him coach his team, coach his guys, and the relationship that he's built and how he motivates. And then I see him in the games, how he's talking to them. He ran out onto the field after a really good play. He's got a really good relationship with his guys. He's really motivating. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't get hired away at some point himself. But kudos to Miami for getting that, and kudos to having Jason Taylor coaching them.
Well, the bottom line is you snapped up another kid from Nebraska. Many years ago, you beat Nebraska for the national championship. So you beat a Cornhusker to win your first national championship, and you got yourself an edge rusher as well. Miami, Nebraska. Sorry, Nebraska, you're not going to win against Miami no matter what you try to do. All right, Tommy.
Hey, it's another nail in the coffin of Nebraska football. They're never going to be what they were before.
No question about it. Thanks, Tommy. Great minds think alike. Okay, Mel?
Yeah, I think what Marvin said, being coached by a Hall of Fame coach, somebody who was a smallish guy, and so he has a lot of tools in his tool bag. It's not just bull rush. You have to have some tools in your toolbox. I mean, if all you have is a hammer, then everything is a nail. Well, he's giving them these, even though they may be gifted physically, he's giving these guys more tools to put in their tool chest. So when they go out there, they're able to operate at a different level. So, I mean, I think, Marvin makes a great point for once that, being coached by a Hall of Famer makes a lot of sense for these guys.
Okay, 2 more topics to go. One of them is this. Sam Darnold becomes the first USC quarterback to start a Super Bowl. Guess what? And we'll elaborate on this on Tuesday. Adolfo Mensa, the general manager, lost his job in Minnesota. We're not going to talk about that now. Let's just celebrate with Marvin that you ended up getting Sam Darnold as the first quarterback USC guy to get in Super Bowl.
All those great USC teams, and this is the first time it has happened? Wow.
It blows my mind as well that quarterback has never had a starting quarterback in the Super Bowl. When you look at the fact that we've won 3 Heismans at the position, not including Rodney Peete, who came in second place. So listen, I'm pushing hard for Sam Darnold. I was pushing hard for a Caleb Williams, Sam Darnold NFC Championship. That didn't happen, but Sam has been balling. Since he got in the league, he's had a little adversity, but once he got a chance to ball out and go to Minnesota and show his skills, and now this year we see him leading his team. I love it, man. The USC Trojan family is behind him, and my entire family will be Seahawks fans going into Super Bowl Sunday.
Andy?
Kudos to Sam Darnold for getting there. And I am surprised that he is the first USC Trojan that's there, but quarterback that's there. But kudos to him. He's done really well. He's played in Pro Bowls. He's had adversity. This is the 5th team in the NFL that he's played for. But kudos to him and good luck to him.
Tommy?
Yeah, really happy for him to rebuild his career like that. It's unfortunate that the hot mic picked him up saying, I see ghosts out there, when he was a real young quarterback. And the media has played on that and made snarky comments about it ever since then. John Elway struggled his first few years, but they didn't have a hot mic picking up his confusion when he lined up behind the guard instead of the center. So Sam Darnold has always gotten a bad rap, and I'm glad to see that he's coming out on top now.
Mel?
I think it's a great story. I mean, I don't have a dog in this fight for this Super Bowl one. It wouldn't bother me one bit if Sam Darnold and the Seahawks won this, because I think it's a great story. It's a great story of redemption. He gets to throw the middle finger up to a lot of different people, and I'm all about that. I'm all about get back. I don't have any problem with it whatsoever. If he did that, if he just pulled his pants down and told everybody to kiss his entire backside, I wouldn't have a problem with that either. I'm all about get back. So I'm happy for the guy, even though he did go to that school across town.
Yeah, well, I'm happy for him too, because he gets to tell Woody Johnson, you stink. He gets to tell the New York Jets, you crashed. And we have another Jim Plunkett story here that's about to develop, and we'll have a chance to watch it in about a week. All right, final topic of the day, Bill Belichick versus Don Shula. Shula was the first ballot Hall of Famer. Bill Belichick was not. This one's for you, Tommy, anyways. I know how much you love Bill Belichick anyways. Now the biggest snub in Hall of Fame history. We'll do more on this topic, but I want to make sure we have a tail of the tape for the first round, Tommy. So I told you, I promised you this one, Tommy, and I'll have a lot more. I'm on the road, so I'm working with a very limited deck here, but I had to get one in, okay? But let's go ahead and talk about the tail of the tape. Playoff wins, Belichick 31-19. Coach of the year, Shula gets the advantage there, 4-3. Super Bowl wins, Belichick 6-2. Playoff appearances 19-19. All-time records, Bill Belichick 333, 178. Don Shula 347, 173-6. All right, who you got, Marvin?
Listen, Shula set the standard. I think he's the guy that everybody's been chasing. But if Bill Belichick, listen, if he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer, who is? That's how I look at this. At the end of the day, we judge this thing on championships. You said 6-2. That says a lot right there. And Shula, he played with Marino. So, I got Belichick.
Candy?
This one's tough. I mean, they're both really great coaches, obviously. And did Bill deserve to be Hall of Fame first time? Yes. 6 Super Bowl championships. But my question is we all wonder, is it him or was it Tom that really did that? Right. With that being said, I'm going to say Don.
Who are you saying?
Don Shula.
Okay. Tommy?
Yeah, I'm going to, there's no question Belichick belongs in the Hall of Fame. It makes me mad that people are feeling sorry for him, a curmudgeon like him. But I've said before that Vince Lombardi is still the greatest coach in NFL history, not Belichick. When all this Hall of Fame controversy was boiling over, somebody put on Twitter, I assume it's accurate, without Tom Brady, Bill Belichick's winning percentage is 444. And so I looked at Shula. I've already talked in the past shows about how Lombardi never had a losing season. I looked at Shula, and Shula went from Baltimore to Miami. In 1969, Miami was 3-10-1. Shula takes over at Miami. First season, 1970, they go 10-4. When Shula took over the Baltimore Colts in 1963, he was only like 32 years old. The Colts had been going 7-7 and 62, and he improved them to 8-6. Not a big difference there, but the Miami from 3-10-1 to 10-4. Belichick doesn't have anything like that on his resume anywhere. And Lombardi had the similar records. In 1958, the Packers were 1-10-1, and the next year Lombardi takes them to 7-5. Lombardi never had a losing season. Belichick had losing seasons.
So who you going with between these two, Tommy?
Well, Shula, of course.
Don Shula. Okay, that's your way. All right. Okay. I love the description and the information that gave me. That one of the reasons that you don't like Bill Belichick. I'll give you more hate next week. This is the best I could come up with on the road. Okay, go ahead, Mel.
Yeah, Coach Belichick, I don't like him. I don't dislike him. I respect him. And you have to respect what he did. I mean, the number of championships that he won. You can say he had Tom Brady. Well, Coach Shula had Bob Greasy and he had Dan Marino. He didn't win any championships with Dan Marino. And I think everybody would say that Dan Marino, probably talent-wise, was a much better talent than Tom Brady. So I'm going to go with Belichick. I'm
going Don Shula all the way. I'll tell you why I'm going with him. Number one, the first coach I ever worked with and taught me an awful lot. So I can, but the major reason why is back in the day, you had Camp Shula, you had 2 or 3 day practices and pads, and that was painful. What the players have to deal with now isn't nearly what they had to do physicality. You didn't have the medicine advanced now than you did before. If you had a knee injury, you were done. So the things that Shula had to work with compared to what Belichick is, between the advanced medicine and the fact that go ahead and throw anybody to the ground, 2 or 3 a day practice is brutal, and he had to do it in the South Florida heat, which is even worse. So I'll go Shula all day long. This isn't close. Again, Tommy already said it, that Belichick is a sub 500 coach without Brady. What more?
Well, the other thing I noticed was Shula won his Super Bowls with Bob Greasy, but he got to a Super Bowl with David Woodley.
Right.
And Earl Morrow, Bob Greasy was hurt, and Earl Morrow had to play. Earl Morrow was a great quarterback. Earl Morrow had to lead him the rest of the way. But Shula got to a Super Bowl with David Woodley. Belichick never got to a Super Bowl without Tom Brady.
Great point. There you go. Sorry, Bill. Tommy just stuck it to you good. David Woodley. Also, I want to mention a shout out to Lou Holtz. Unfortunately, he is in hospice care. I can only say prayers out to Lou Holtz. So he's in hospice care, and wish him whatever we can at this point in hospice. All right, Mel, I know you have to get going, so let everybody know how to get a hold of you. We have only about 2 minutes before we wrap it up anyways, but I'll let you out now, Mel.
Yeah, catch me on all the social media at Mel Farr Jr. Find me, what we have going on here for the youth at melfarsuperstarfoundation.org.
All right, well, Mel, thanks for joining us. We'll see you on Tuesday night. All right, Mel? Thank you.
All right, take care, guys.
Only a couple more minutes left in the show anyways. So, yeah, Tommy, you're right. Yeah, David Woodley, they end up getting him there with. And, and Earl Morrall was unbelievable. I actually, many years ago, talked to Earl Morrall at the Orange Bowl. Unbelievable. And without Earl Morrall, the Dolphins don't go get that under. He's the unsung hero on that team. He really, really is. And he was actually a coach for the Miami Hurricanes at one point, too. I think he was a quarterback's coach as well. So, great stuff all the way around.
He won a Rose Bowl at Michigan State in 1956.
Did he really? Yeah, Earl Morrall was
quarterback.
Well, I'll tell you what. Well, now you say that. Now you're getting the Shanahan report. Go ahead.
I'm Shanahan.report, and on Twitter it's Shanny4055, SHANNY 4055.
Okay, Marvin, let everybody know how to get a hold of you.
Yeah, Marvin Powell III. Marvin on the mic is my handle. You can catch me I got 5 shows going through the week with the South Florida Tribune. And you can catch me twice a week with Locked On USC.
All right, Candy, take us away.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. Talks about his 45 plus years in the media business and how it has evolved and changed. Go get your copy today. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. It's also available in audio as well. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there's a plethora of great content, so go check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. Last but not least, if you see that red subscribe button in that lower right-hand corner, that means you have not yet subscribed to us. What are you waiting for? Just click it, like us, and share us with all your friends and family. And then turn on your notifications so you're notified every time we go live. Back to you, Scott.
All right, well, Candy and I are off to Senior Bowl in a few hours. Meanwhile, Tommy, we appreciate you popping in this morning to do the show. And I'm going to ask you to do this one all the time as well earlier. We're happy to have you on Tuesday night and occasionally on Wednesday. I believe this Wednesday is your night, right? I think you go every week, so they got him on this Wednesday night, and he goes on Tuesday. But we're glad he had a chance to see the Mel and Marvin show on a Saturday morning. It gets pretty interesting there as well. Tommy, you're the best, all I can tell you, man. I really – you know how I feel about you, Marvin. You're a great student, and you've come a long way. So, Candy, what else can I say about you? Not a whole lot, except you're the best. All right, well, that does it for this edition of Inside the Pigskin. Have a great weekend, everybody. And Candy and I are going to be off to the University of South Alabama, well, home of the Jaguars, where we're going to see the Senior Bowl today. And we had a chance, Tommy, yesterday to get by Ladd Peoples Stadium. I don't know if you've ever been there before, and just kind of drove around the area a little bit. It's not where the game is being played anymore. But we had to go ahead and fulfill the Senior Bowl weekend to see the old and the new. So but we have a game a little while. Thanks a lot for joining us. And Monday, we'll have baseball back. And we'll be on our normal broadcast schedule next week. So take care, everybody. Have a great weekend. And thank you very much for joining us, everybody. Earl Kinsey, you're the best. Thanks a lot for your contributions in the chat room. Have a good weekend as well. Take care, everybody. Bye now.